Dateline 1941. The Axis of Evil rampages across Europe, staking claim over many territories in various European nations. The German Luftwaffe has effectively seized control over much of the Western European seaboard and across the Mediterranean. The British Royal Air Force is putting up a heck of a fight against the Axis aggressors, but their ability to hold back the Germans from taking too much ground is in question. France, New Zealand, and Australia have thrown in their lot with Britain to try and hold back the German, Italian, and Japanese forces, but the conflict has spilled over into northern Africa, threatening an even greater usurpation of power and land by the Axis powers. In the meantime, while the United States has not yet officially joined the fight, the U.S. government is certainly fortifying positions around the globe in an attempt to help keep the Axis from gaining too much of a foothold across Western Europe. Indeed, we have already seen conflict with German U-boats around Greenland. As the conflict heats up in the surrounding area, one thing is abundantly clear. America will need to enter this fight at some point in time to ensure this war doesn't rage across our own shores. What can you do to help beat back the Luftwaffe and free Europe from this tyranny? Contact your local Capcom Air Guard office today. Recruiters are standing by to take your information and sign you up to be an elite pilot, ready to give the Germans what for. You can learn to fly a Lockheed P-38 Lightning or a de Havilland DH-98 Mosquito. Rain down fire and fury upon Nazi tanks and targets, and help liberate towns and territories. Wrest control of key European strongholds from the Germans' tight grip. Take to the skies and use the weapons at your disposal to wreak havoc upon Axis tanks, cannons, air support, and other weaponry. You may play a key role in helping keep Europe from going down a dark path. Contact your local Capcom recruiting office today.
Shoot the Core Cast.
Welcome to Shoot the Corecast, the official companion podcast to the RF Generation Shmup Club. This is a family-friendly shmup-themed podcast that's all about to spin it to win it. I'm Addicted, known as Addicted to Shmups, and with me as always is
MetalFRO, also known as Game Boy Guru. And if you would like to connect with the podcast, you can do so in a number of ways. Follow us on X or Twitter at ShootCoreCast. You can follow me directly at Game Boy Guru. We're also on Blue Sky, so find us there, Shoot the Corecast. Check out our Linktree page where you can find links to all the socials and all the feeds and everything. That's linktr.ee/shootthecorecast. And you'll also find a link there to our Discord server, which I would highly encourage you to join so that you can join us for a Shmup Club playthrough and talk shmups in general. You'll be the first to know when new episodes are up, and we got a good community, so come check it out. Also, please, if you would, like, follow, rate, review, subscribe, etc., whatever the function is on your preferred podcast platform. As always, my YouTube channel also has the feed if you want to get it there. And you can follow me on Twitch to get notifications of new streams, because I do stream the Shmup Club Game of the Month multiple times each month, and that is twitch.tv/GuruGameBoy.
Yeah, you left off 2 on there. There's 2 other ways to contact us. One is Smoke Signal. It's not always the best, but you can give it a shot. And the other is Bat Signal. That one's great. Just make sure to shine it right above Gotham City, and Guru will be there.
Well, I didn't mention the Bat Signal because it's actually in the shop for repairs.
Oh, shoot. Well, maybe next month. We'll have to talk to James Gunn about that.
There you go.
All right, so let's move on to Rolling Start Gunner. So, Rolling Gunner, I played just very little on this. I want to play more on this, but I need to replace my controller. I was using my Xbox One pad so much that it decided to roll on out of here, and I'm going to have to get an 8-bit though. The stick drift is worse than Initial D on the controller, so until I can either get the analog stick replaced with a I almost said MagSafe with a proper replacement, or get an 8-bit dough with the TMR joysticks, not to be confused with the TMI joysticks, we can finally get schmupping again. How about you?
So instead of rolling start, you had more of a drifting start.
It was doing barrel rolls before I even touched anything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it just goes. It goes forward without even touching it. It's great.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I played no Rolling Gunner, unfortunately, or virtually no Rolling Gunner. This month has been rather busy, and the next couple of months, or about the next month and a half, is going to be equally busy. So I don't know how much Rolling Gunner I'll actually be able to play, but it's funny because I've actually been playing a bunch of stuff. Just none of it is Rolling Gunner because I've been playing demos for various shmups and stuff that have come out. And so, yeah, I haven't got back to Rolling Gunner, and I feel bad about that. But
well, let's talk a little bit about what you actually have been playing there. I know that you've been playing Zelda, but that's not a shmup. So what demo shmups have you been playing?
Give me a sec. Let me bring up my Steam info.
Yeah, and while you're talking about that, I played Exo Calibre and definitely enjoyed that. I'm going to sort of stop and not get too in depth with that one, but it was definitely different with its melee attacks that cut through bullets and stuff. It's sort of interesting to see a lot more shmups use combination bullet and melee attacks. I think we're finally past the not really dodge them up, but the get closer grace to win phase. I think that's finally fading as far as shmup mechanics, and that melee attacks are becoming the new norm, whether it's from pressing A and just sort of doing like similar to Pocky and Rocky Reshrined or Pocky and Rocky, right, where the melee attack sends the bullets back or gets rid of them, to more of a this is integrating the gameplay. Because Lilac Zero does a lot of that, where it's not only a way of getting rid of bullets and enemies, but it's also a way of quick movement to move from one area of the screen. In the same way is true with Exo Calibre, where you're sort of baiting the enemies in so that way you can immediately attack via melee attack in a specific way and get rid of the bullets or cancel the bullets and destroy the enemies as well. Otherwise, it's just not manageable in that game. So interesting ideas coming from this, and I hope to see more.
Sure. Well, I definitely put in some time with Crab Attack. I think I mentioned this last time, but interesting game. Very different approach for a shmup. Not traditional at all in some senses. It's more like play a level, earn some resources, go upgrade your ship or upgrade your crab with new weapons and stuff, and then go back to the same levels again. But then once you get a new weapon or a new technique, then you may be able to unlock a different path through the level, and then you might see a new boss or a new area you haven't been. And, it's almost mission based, but it's, I don't know, it's almost like choose your own adventure, the shmup. It's a unique game.
Yeah, if it's not playing Crab Rave in the background constantly, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Right. I put a little bit of time into Cosmic Destroyer, the demo for that, but I need to go back and download the update to that, because I know that the dev who is in our Discord did put some new content in the game and has made some improvements. So I need to go and give that another try. I also put here the other day some time into All Systems Operational, another forthcoming shmup that actually I think several of the devs are in our Discord, and they have their own Discord where folks who are testing the game, including a couple of the people from our community, are over there and have been providing feedback. And I gave them a bunch of feedback a couple of days ago when I was playing, and, just trying to help them improve the game and balance it and all of that. I also put a little bit of time into Assault Shell 2, which has been in early access for a little while, but I just kind of got the itch to play it, and that's really good. I mean, you remember the first Assault Shell, we had the dev on for that episode, and that was quite good. And so I'm looking forward to the final release of this. And then I, for whatever reason, I got the itch to play Project Starship X again. And so I put a little bit of time into that and got through the tutorial and at least one of the loops.
Yeah, I was just thinking we probably don't ever want to try and... how people shorten the name of a game when they're talking about like DOJ and all that stuff. Do not shorten an Assault Shell, because all I could think of is the first three letters, followed by Shell, and none of that's going to fly over in a kid-friendly podcast or any other way. Do not put that up there. Save that for your Steam Hearts game.
Just rename it Poop, the sequel.
Oh, geez. Yeah, why does it sound like a Mel Brooks comedy special there? Spaceballs, the merchandise. Spaceballs, the breakfast cereal.
Yes.
I can't wait to see a bunch of those. Can't wait to see a bunch of those bleeps. Yeah, I can't say it in here, but reminds me of there. Is everybody on the ship? And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say it. Yeah. Oh, well. So, anything else you want to talk about before we move on to the news that everyone can use?
Nope, that's it for now.
Sounds good. So, let's start off with the news. Ancient has released a few patches of the Steam version of Eartheon, including improving bullet visibility, improving Stage 2 visibility overall, and fixing some audio issues. There's also a patch being done to correct some ranking issues, as well as some achievement problems. The decrypted ROM for Eartheon has been making rounds on the internet, and I almost said interwebs. Jeez, this is where slang goes too far. And Yuzo Koshiro has posted an impassioned plea to players to please support the game and not to pirate it, as he has taken a lot of work to bring the passion project to fruition. In addition, there are rumors circulating that Ancient used generative AI for some content within the game, but Yuzo Koshiro took to social media to debunk those claims, stating that some stuff was used early on for placeholder content, mostly an AI synthesizer, to create voice samples for early builds. He hopes to use real voice recordings for the final cartridge, though that would depend upon the storage need to make that happen. Now, I will say Eartheon is the other game that I got a chance to finally try out, and it's worth every penny easily. That game is great.
Yeah, I streamed that when it came out. The night that it came out, I want to say, it was toward the end of the month, last month. Might have been my last or second to last 1941 stream, and I wasn't making any progress. So I quit that game early and played some Eartheon and put in a few runs, ended up switching to easy mode just so I could, see more of the game. And after a couple of attempts, I had an easy mode 1cc. So I think, a normal 1cc would probably not be too bad. And with the changes that have been made, in bullet visibility and some of the balancing and stuff, I think that would probably also be pretty doable.
Yeah, the only complaint I have about is the control scheme. The initial control scheme wasn't very good. It took me a while to figure out how I was supposed to change. Because I had the 360, the possessed Xbox One pad, and I couldn't get that to work properly. It kept defaulting to the keyboard controls.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I had to change it to like raw input instead of direct input. It was doing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, it is still possessed, but at least I could use the controller.
Right. R-Gear, the short concept that was to be the original sequel to Rayforce, was previously locked to a deluxe physical version of the Ray's Arcade Chronology release. This has now been released as a standalone digital release in the Japanese Switch eShop and PlayStation Network for around $3. No word on whether or not we will see a standalone digital release of R-Gear in the West.
Yeah, this is one of those things that it seems so weird because all this stuff is something that was. This is beginning to be sort of like a running joke, like the Analog 64, right? How much can we delay this game? But for the physical, at least for those who have pre-ordered. But yeah, I mean, it's great. They can check. I might as well just spend the $3 now and get it. It feels like someone's asking, "Would you like fries with it? Would you like our gear with that?"
Yeah, there you go.
Developer Ricardo Campador has released an early alpha build of his conversion of Super Pain for Super Nintendo. It's called Mega Pain. Darn it, I'm having Joe Redifer flashbacks. Why do I want to say it as like 40 Mega Pain power?
Mega Bang Power!
And just Joe saying it's not Green Dog.
Green Dog!
Yes. There we go. And will run on Sega Genesis and Mega Drive hardware. It will support 2 players and can run on actual hardware. It's available from rcampador.itch.io. So if you got an itch for some super pain, some super mega pain, give it a scratch.
Indeed. The Steam page is now up for Danmaku Unlimited 4 Wyver Ultra, so you can wishlist it. There's still no release date listed, but it looks like the game has a mechanic similar to the katana system in Akai Katana Shin, where you fire off large swords that can cancel bullets into point items.
I sort of feel like if we're going to go through Danmaku Unlimited 4, let's just follow Weird Al's advice and dare to be stupid. Let's just call it Danmaku Unlimited 4, the Danmakuing.
The Danmakuing.
Let's just go full stupid. Let's go. Developer Bad Computer has released an alpha version of the new Master System Shooting Rising Core. It can be had from the Bandcamp badcomputer.itch.io page and is a Star Soldier like vertical STG. I could just see Takahashi Meijin getting ready. He's doing the Rocky training montage. Eye of the tiger, the thrill of the fight. It's 11 button presses per second.
It's actually badcomputerzero.itch.io.
Oh, my apologies.
Right. I just want to make sure that people know where to get it. But I mean, if you search for Raising Core, which actually the way it's spelled is like Rising, the developer. But yeah, it looks really good. The Steam page is up for Fox Flare Night, the forthcoming horizontal Danmaku from developer Outside. There's still not a release date listed, and it is the first horizontal shooter from this dev.
Very nice. Jalico's unique 1984 shooter, D-Day. Maybe we should have gone for that as an extra bonus for the 50th anniversary here. Released via Arcade Archive on August 7th. It's a top-down vertical shooter where you control a battleship and fire at various targets coming your way by controlling a targeting reticle around the playfield. Also, the SNK shoot-up Get to the Chopper 1, known as Air Cavalry Storm in Japan, released via Arcade Archives on August 21st. You know, I have to say, the Arcade Archives line has really been just hitting out of the park. Crazy stuff has been coming out, like the Namco System 21 water ski game. It wouldn't surprise me if you saw Cyber Sled to show up, and then you get someone who has, look at this, I made a $250 controller for Cyber Sled.
Oh, yeah. Attrax 17 has updated the Cave 68000 core for the Mr. FPGA, so it can now run the lesser-known arcade shmup Air Gallet from short-lived developer Gazelle, which was made up of a couple of former Toaplan staffers.
Yeah, this is great because Air Gallet is something that there just really isn't a lot of hardware out there, so the ability to play arcade accurate at home is something I'm definitely looking for. Now I just hear you here in the back saying, "Bring me Nostradamus."
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, Air Gallet has been playable in MAME for years, but there has been no home port of it. And of course, with the recent Exa Arcadia version of the game, the likelihood that we are going to see a proper home port of Air Gallet anytime soon is probably limited. So this is a good thing no matter what, because it means that at least the game is marginally more accessible.
Yeah, and the Exa Arcadia stuff, I mean, I think it's cool. I do like it because it's bringing new life. But it's almost like, okay, we got this indie game. We sell it on Steam for $5, but now we're going to make an Exa Arcadia version of it, and we'll increase the price by $5,000 or $25,000. Now, and you're sort of, okay, I didn't know that we were doing Neo Geo price tags on here. I don't know. I'm sort of torn because I was there when Neo Geo. I was there, Gandalf. I was there, 4,000 years ago, in the fires of Mount Doom, by the birth of the Neo Geo and the AES and MVS. 9 4 slots were given to the kingdom of men. But it just seems superfluous for being superfluous. I don't know, and I'm probably not the target audience for this, but still, it's nice to see something outside that'll be there. I'm hoping that we start to see more of these types of shmups come to Mr. I think it's a perfect platform for them. And even places where you have original hardware, all that stuff is pretty fragile to begin with. So having a more authentic way to play is always good.
Yep.
September 24th, we'll see the release of a 2-CD set of music for Sonic Wings Reunion, including vocal tracks from vocalist Suzuka, as well as the character Mamo. This will be produced by City Connection and Claris Disc. The set will also feature various arrangements of tracks. Now, this is one that I haven't had a chance to try yet, but based upon everything I've seen, the hype for this one deflated faster than end of summer pool toy.
Yeah, a lot of the hardcore audience who were really into the original Aero Fighters, Sonic Wings games, were rather disappointed with the new game. I know Scult from our Discord enjoyed it, but EC, for example, he did a run of Sonic Wings 2 during Shmup Slam 7, and he's kind of a big Sonic Wings fan in general, and I know he was pretty disappointed in the game, and I think overall the enthusiasm for the game definitely cooled quickly. Wings of Osiris Genesis is an older Android mobile game, but has recently been ported to Windows by the developer. This is available as a name-your-own-price game from the Cross Dimension Studio itch.io page. And it's a 3D shooter with that sort of overhead and behind perspective, similar to Ray Storm, Ray Crisis, or Under Defeat. But maybe sort of somewhere in between that and like a Star Fox kind of thing. Looks neat, so I might have to check that out.
Holy Justice, Galaxy Outcast is a forthcoming vertical shooter on Steam from Big Button Company, planned for a Q4 release. It appears to have mouse controls and features some kind of shop or upgrade using core enhancers. It should change the way your ship will fight. Well, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time I order one of those 8-bit DOE keyboards so that way I can get those big buttons.
Right.
I think that's what you should do too. Let's just have a live stream in December where you're just playing a 2-button shmup with those big keyboard buttons. Or you just have to smack them with your hand. Or maybe use just one of the whack-a-mole hammers. Let's go.
Be like that's the modern equivalent of what was that helmet that Konami made for the NES that you would yell into the microphone?
Oh, the laser scope.
Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laser scope, yeah. Yeah, that thing as it was well, the Anger Video Game Nerd episode where it just picked up on any noise, right? And you just said the word a swear word over and over and over again, and that still worked, so.
Yep.
Well, technology, what can you do?
Yeah. The demo for County Pro Games' Cute 'em Up Conjunctive Vitalizer is out as of August 11th, though the release date still only lists 2026 on the Steam page. I need to get on this. This is another one of those demos that I was planning on playing, but I haven't yet. It's supposed to be a little bit more geared toward the hardcore players, so I'd be curious to see how that stacks up.
You know, when you say conjunction vitalizer, all it can make me think of is, what if Schoolhouse Rocks had a shmup? Conjunction junction, where's that power up?
Yes.
I'm just popcorn sitting at Capitol Hill. Anyways, all right. The demo for UFO 50 released for Nintendo Switch on August 7th, and there will also be a physical version available in both standard and deluxe editions courtesy of Fangamer. The deluxe version will include a 100-page guide to the games, and both editions will include a download code for the full soundtrack. The physical versions are slated to ship in February 2026.
Yeah, I haven't played any of the UFO 50 games yet, but I know iHoz was all about it, and so I think he was excited to see the announcement that this was coming to Switch.
You know, I had a chance to play a couple of the games that are on the UFO 50, and it was much better than Action 52, so I think it's off to a good start.
Well, that's a low bar, my friend.
Well, you know me, I like to set the bar low and consistently fail to meet it.
That's right. Hey, this is the corporate, or this is like the gaming version of the corporate thing of under promise and over deliver.
There you go.
Laulaudi Asteri, Save the Solar System, is a horizontal, quotes, 3D STG that appears to take inspiration from Revolver 360 Reactor in that you can spin around the environment to avoid some bullets and also to engage with different enemies. The game will have twin-stick controls according to the dev. It is from Hoshika Game Development and has been in the works for quite some time. The Steam page only says 2025 for a release, so no firm date yet. This looks good, but also very busy. For those who haven't played Revolver 360 Reactor, one thing that makes it a little bit easier to parse is that the game has a limited color scheme, and so you can kind of get an idea. It almost has like this Tron sort of, not wireframe, but highlighted sort of look to it. And this game is more traditional in its visual approach. And so just watching the footage I've seen, it looks busy, but it does look like it would be cool.
Nice. I think we can all say the real reason now why we weren't playing Rolling Gunner. We're all playing Gradius Origins Collection.
Ah, yes.
I mean, this has been released on all modern platforms and received largely positive reviews. Information has been released on some hidden games within the collection as well, accessible by inputting the Konami code on the game select screen while hovering over certain games. The extra games include Gradius Versus, a revised version of Salamander, and Gradius style power-ups, capsules similar to the JP or Japanese backport of Life Force and Life Force 2, the unreleased Western version of Salamander 2. In related news, Did You Know Gaming did a video about the history of the Konami code, tying into the release of the Gradius Origins collection. Yeah, playing Salamander 3, that game is very well done. Just a solid package all around.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that before, but that's another one that I've been putting some time into. I put time into Salamander 3, got a quick 1cc of that. There are definitely some balance issues with that that I hope M2 will look at. But, I mean, people have already got good enough at the game to get to, like, the 6th or 7th loop. It's kind of ridiculous. Hardcore players. I've also been putting some time into Gradius 3 AM show version, which was the sort of early build of the game that never really came to be, but it was showed off at the amusement show in Japan at some point, and so it was an early build of the game. It had some very different weapon stuff, and I can only imagine if this is the version that actually got released, Gradius 3 might have a very different reputation than it has today. But it's super difficult, but it's oddly compelling because of the changes in the weapon system and some of the stuff, that's in the game. So I don't know. It's interesting.
I have to say, though, if you're interested in the EM morning show, that's fine. But I'm always interested in Gradius After Dark. That game is so hard trying to kill those flying toasters. Oh, they just keep spawning.
Yeah, well, it's all because of the Moai. They got to have their avocado toast.
There we go. Gradius conspiracy theories.
Oh, gosh, yes. Clear River Games has canceled the previously mentioned gun peripheral for the Operation Night Strikers physical release, citing rising manufacturing costs. The special edition itself will still happen, however, just without the plastic gun.
It sort of reminds me of like the 80s where everything all of a sudden had to be like this polka dots or this really bright color with like an orange tip, so that way cops wouldn't determine it was a real gun. Definitely interesting time. Manufacturing costs, I could say, but I think the best way that I've seen to play it is actually the NES version, which is the Famicom version of Operation Wolf in those games, because that had a trackball. And that's really what those guns were, right? They had a trackball underneath, or a trackball-like controller, and you move the gun, and it would just move the trackball across the screen.
Yeah.
It sort of sucks, but I get it.
Yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, the Switch version of Operation Night Strikers does have mouse support for some of the games. So for Operation Wolf or Space Gun, those will have mouse support. So if you have a Switch 2 or an original Switch and you plug in a USB mouse, as far as I know, that will work.
They turned it into a clicker.
Yeah. I mean, that's how people play these games in MAME, so...
Yeah. No. I was just sort of thinking if they did that, if they took the Super Nintendo mouse It's like, I'm tired of killing flies. Let me plug it in for Operation Wolf and let's go. Stadleraki is forthcoming to Steam's early access page from Voidstar Games Limited. It's a free roaming overhead shooter with several ships to choose from, and appears to expand upon the ideas of overhead stages from early Thunder Force games, where you take various ground targets and bomb bases. Sorry, I was just going to say, I think this follows the long-standing tradition where if you want to make your shmup sound really cool, you give it a German word.
Right, yeah. The Steam page is up for the re-release of Galactics from Scott Host. This was an early 90s DOS space shooter and was originally released prior to Raptor Call of the Shadows. No release date is listed, though early estimates point to possibly mid-October.
All right.
I remember playing this on PC back in the day and enjoying it.
I was playing so much Raptor Call of the Shadows, so...
Yep, me too.
I don't know. It's like one of those things, like, now that I know better, but then it's still like a blast of nostalgia to play. I don't know. It's sort of like one of those things like, stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. It hurts so good.
Yeah. Well, and see, Scott is still working on a remake of Raptor. So at some point, I still want to cover that game, but I'd kind of like to wait until the remake is out so that we can compare the original release and the remake and, maybe see what improvements or quality of life changes have been implemented. Because honestly, I still think Raptor is a solid game, even if that Euro shmup formula may not be to everyone's liking.
Well, in probably the revised version or the remake, there, if you get hit by a drop of water, you instantly lose half of your health.
Right.
An alpha build of Prismedia, Spirit of the Rift, is available now from the Chain Damage Games itch.io page. The Steam page is also up for wish listing. Spirit of the Rift.
This is another demo that I played.
Huh.
This is very, very cave, very Mushihime-sama in terms of the look and feel of it in some ways. I think you would probably dig this. It has an interesting system where, if memory serves, because it's been a little bit since I ran the demo, but you take out enemies to collect this green resource, and then once your meter is full, then you can bomb in order to convert bullets and enemies and stuff into point items. It reminded me, I told the dev, it reminded me a little bit of kind of a simplified version of the score loop from Kaikon.
Okay.
Just not as intense as that in terms of the loop of gaining the resource and then bombing when you had the item rank up. This is more like, just shoot enemies, collect the stuff they give you, and then once your meter is full, then just bomb.
So basically what you're doing the entire game is setting up the bomba?
It's something like that, yeah.
Well, as long as you get your Zig to move, you should be all right.
Yeah. It's two stages, I believe, in the demo, and it's pretty solid. I mean, I gave the devs some feedback on a few things, and I think it's just him and his wife mostly doing the work on it. And so anyway, it's very promising.
Well, let's hope it takes off for great justice.
Indeed. According to an article on Time Extension, New Line Cinema has picked up rights to do a movie based upon Space Invaders. It's in development now.
I was sort of thinking, how could they do this? But then I thought of that. Do you remember the Futurama episode where everyone's obsessed with eating these poplars or whatever they are, and they end up being like the young of of an alien species. It is, you could take that route with there, right? You're eating our young. They're actually, the octopuses are actually younger life forms. They actually come from space, and they're angry that you're eating octopus because it's all based upon sea enemies.
Right.
They're angry that you're defeating. So now you've got these space aliens coming down because Earth has been eating their young, and they've had enough. I mean, look, if they can make pixels with that, they can make this.
Oh, well, I don't know if pixels is the bar that we want to set for the Space Invaders movie. I would hope that we would want the Space Invaders movie to maybe kick it up a few notches.
Well, you know me, I like to set the expectations low and consistently fail to meet them.
Yeah.
Developer Shooter Zap has released a beta of the tentatively titled Vertical STG Retro Gunner. It has an 8-bit style game and has 3 playable levels in the beta, which is available from a OneDrive folder linked to the original X post.
Yeah, I think I grabbed this, but I haven't played it yet. So there's another demo that I have yet to explore.
This is what you should. You probably just do your entire thing to just trying out new shmups. I think that would be a good recurring Twitch stream for you. Like maybe at the very end of the month, like here's all the demos for the games that came out this month. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or maybe use it to catch up on some demos that have come out that I haven't touched yet.
Yeah, stuff like Leisure Suit Larry. Oh, good.
Right. Light Years of Fervent Warfare is an in-development shooter from High Jump Man under the Leah Creative Industries banner. It's a single developer effort from someone in the island nation of Seychelles. Discord community is being set up for those who want to participate in the game testing, and it's slated for Steam Early Access soon. And the game will be a combination vertical shooter and RPG.
Sounds cool. Yeah, you never know where a good shmup idea will come from. It's neat that anybody can be. I mean, say what you will about AAA or if you're Ubisoft, quadruple A game development status, but indie game development means that it really has democratized the process where anyone can make a game now. I mean, that wasn't true. Say what you will about Unity or game engines. The fact that someone will say, I want to make a game, and then make it happen is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Games That Weren't has posted about a canceled Game Boy Color shooter called F-19 Stealth Air that was apparently planned for 1999 or 2000 release on the hardware. It's not fully known that this was supposed to be a commercial release, and it also appears to be a demake of Raptor called The Shadows based upon the plane you fly, backgrounds, and the general gameplay. A download is available to check out, though it's only one stage long and tends to crash with graphical corruption. Still interesting look into what could have been. F-19 Stealth Air seems like it could have been either like a knockoff Michael Jordan sneaker brand, or maybe something involved with a Reebok pumps.
Sure.
I mean, it worked. They tried to shoehorn Dracula into. Remember Drax Night Out? He had to get the Reebok pump shoes in order to get out. So, I could totally see a sneaker called F-19 Stealth Air.
Was that a Leslie Nielsen movie?
No, that's an actual Nintendo game. Drax Night Out was never released, but it did have the Reebok pumps in them. Because, Dracula is gonna... If he's going to escape and have a night out, the first thing he needs is a good set of kicks.
Yes. Oh, that's right. The Leslie Nielsen was Dracula Dead and Loving It. Something like that.
Yeah, speaking of which, I hear the latest Naked Gun is actually pretty good. I got to go see that.
There you go. Zoe Be Gone from developer Recce is set to release on consoles September 17th. It's a Fantasy Zone style shmup and then run and gun hybrid that has a cute, minimalist art style and looks quite busy in the footage.
I gotta wonder, is it because they're upset with Zona vendors? Do they have something against Hiro Kojima? Is that what's going on? Zona vendors be gone?
I do not know.
R-Type Delta HD Boosted is now confirmed for a November 20th launch in the West on all model platforms digitally, and physical versions come for the Switch and PS5. R-Type Delta HD Boosted. I wonder if that means it runs at 1440p.
On the PS5 version, it just might.
And on the Switch, it runs at 540.
In handheld mode, yeah, I bet.
Oh, geez, after seeing what the Elden Ring running on the Switch 2 in docked mode, yeesh. I'm not sure if you've seen that footage, but oh my goodness. Let's just hope that gets better optimization.
Yeah. Demo for version 2.1 of Doujin Shooter Strekt is available from the Mayoni itch.io page. This is a vertical STG with a classic look to it that very much looks like an early caravan shooter. Kind of has that Star Force look to it.
We almost had something on the blooper roll. I was almost expecting to say mayonnaise itch.io page.
Yeah.
Lobstar. This reminds me again of Spaceballs. Lone Star.
Yes.
Now, Lobstar arcade version launches on Steam September 25th, 2026 from Team Lobstar and USC Games. You control an invincible lobster flying through space. Instead of shooting enemies, you punch enemy projectiles back at them to attack. You can also punch enemies directly. Alright, reminds me a lot of Kinniku Neku. Go, Kinniku Neku. I don't know what lobster is in Japanese, but it'd definitely be Kinniku, right? So we've got Muscle Lobster.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Krusty Krab Strikes Back. Oh, man, these corny jokes are writing themselves. Let's move on. Konami has apparently re-registered some of the trademarks they originally had to register the Wii Virtual Console titles. These include Gyrus, Life Force, and Salamander, as well as re-registration for Salamander Rebirth, which indicates that Gradius Rebirth was originally supposed to have received a follow-up that obviously never happened. Additionally, Namco has similarly re-registered trademarks for Baraduke and Galaxian. This doesn't indicate that new games or releases are coming, but interesting to see if either publisher gets further in this regard. I think what's happening is that they see that these stuff is still viable, and they're either looking at Hamster Arcade Archive releases, or Nintendo is looking to expand the Virtual Console for ways that, or not the Virtual Console, but the Switch Online, right? In order to get that on there, like, here you can buy these add-on packs. So it wouldn't surprise me. These would be pretty quick and easy for it to do, or to just do re-releases. It was available on the Switch, but available on the Wii. You can't buy it anymore. Here it is on the Switch 2 eShop. I mean, it's a quick and easy way to make some money.
Yep.
So it's sort of like, if they took the 3DS Virtual Console version of what's that NES game? The name escapes me. The very expensive one. Rekka. It's sort of like if they took Rekka and instantly put it on the Switch eShop. Make a ton of money that way without having to do anything but a quick port. So it doesn't surprise me, and I will certainly welcome and buy it.
I'm gonna Rekka.
I'm gonna wreck it. Yes, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, Wreck It, Ralph. All right.
Ocean Explorer is a new underwater submarine-themed shooter from Agron 282. It's available as a name-your-own-price title on itch.io and appears to be a Fantasy Zone-style game with various weapons and resource management, and sees you facing off with dangerous sea creatures.
Uh-oh, they better get this out before Space Invaders the movie.
Yeah.
Or we could force everyone to play. Oh, what's that one on the Wii? That one that's terrible. Oh shoot.
Ocean Commander.
Yes. There we go. Let's just do it. The Summer of Kosoge.
Yeah.
Rings of Saturn has created a patch for the Sega Saturn Thunder Force 5 demo disc. The demo only allows you to play Stage 1, but apparently this contained the other stage data, so the patch will allow anyone who has an image of the demo disc to patch it and make the rest of the game playable. Available, the game on the demo disc has some unfinished early graphics and empty zero stage that's not in the retail release and in a different stage select screen. Some stages don't have a boss, making them unfinishable, though you can press X, Y, and Z together to trigger self-destruct. The patch that uses sends you a signal to the next stage to continue playing. Again, I'm having flashbacks to Spaceballs again. Where everyone's, the chicken's getting there, and everyone's in there, and the guy in the gorilla suit, they're all ejecting from the Statue of Liberty's head, and at the end they say, "Oh, it's self-control," and they say, "Just kidding," and then it explodes. So, yeah, I don't know why I'm channeling my inner Spaceballs right now, but that's good. The other thing that this reminds me of is when they put out the demo in the UK for not Popful Mail, KO Flying Squadron, right? They put out the demo and then it contained the full game. Oops.
Yeah, except with KO, that was the full game. This is more like early demo builds of the different stages before the final product was done. And so it's interesting that there's more stuff on the disc that, shows something that didn't end up in the full release. Platypus Reclayed is now set for a September 18th release on all major platforms.
Toaplan Arcade Collections Volumes 1 and 2 have now released digitally on modern consoles, and JP Region physicals have also shipped. There are also compilations of the Bitway ports of Toaplan games repackaged for consoles instead of PC. And I forgot to mention that the limited run games physicals are also shipping, because I got a notification of that and then realized I had forgotten I pre-ordered them. That still happens so much in this day. I thought it was... It's also sort of gotten so bad. When I got an email from Limited Run Games, I thought it was just another notice of delay of shipment. Oh, wait, they're shipping something? Oh, okay, cool. So, I'm looking at you, Limited Demand Games. Let's go. What the heck was it? The Ray Force Chronicles? That one's getting a little crazy because that game's been available, outside of the standard release for quite a while with Einen Games, right? Yeah. And then
the Japanese version has been available physically, and I ordered that on Amazon Japan just so I could get a copy.
Yeah, it's getting sort of weird and crazy. I realize that it's hard to make games, even the best of times, and with the way that the economy is, it's pretty bad, but it just seems like it's gotten even worse, especially where I'm looking at email from a company and I'm just going, oh, they delayed it again, and not even bothering to read it.
Right.
All right. Team 17 supported sequel to Project X for Amiga has launched as of August 15th from MK Games. The Steam page is up, and there's also a demo, so you can try the game before you buy.
Yeah. This is one that I mentioned earlier, but Coffee Maker Games has released a version 2 alpha of Cosmic Destroyer, a forthcoming horizontal shooter. This can be downloaded from the dev roadmap page posted on the developer's Steam account. And yeah, that's another one of the demos I need to try the new version of.
All of the M2 STG games, except for Sorcerer Striker, are confirmed to be working the Shad PS4 emulator.
Yeah, I have not tried this, but I thought that was interesting enough to at least mention.
Sure.
Obviously, support M2 and buy the games, but if you have a broken PS4 or don't have access to working hardware, then this is at least something that people can do.
See, I have access to a working PS4. I'm just broken myself. How do I fix that?
Lots of coffee.
Oh, I have tried that fix. I've also tried coffee with alcohol. I'll keep trying.
Oh boy. You getting into the Baileys now?
Papa needs some more cream and some more alcohol. Let's go.
Synth Escape is an in-development horizontal shooter from developer Rabid Tomato. An early build is available to try from the dev's itch.io page and is a portion of Stage 2, which the dev says encompasses about 1/10 of the projected final product. The game appears to have a bullet grazing mechanic, possibly a way to increase your score multiplier. The itch.io page also links to a Google form where you can provide feedback and report bugs. And just looking at the footage I saw, I didn't play this one yet, but looking at the footage, it's kind of cool. It has that sort of typical 80s throwback synthwave look to it, where it's a lot of neon colors and stuff like that. But how cool is it that you can play a shmup where you fly a DeLorean that has the gull wing doors up and you're blasting enemies?
Sounds pretty good to me.
Doesn't get much cooler than that.
You know, it also sort of makes me think about when you said Rabid Tomato. I was sort of thinking, what is it with tomatoes and shmups? We have Captain Tomaday. Thinking, you know, if that can fly, maybe we can make a VeggieTales shmup. Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber ready to take on enemies. Let's go. If you like to talk to tomatoes, if shooting enemies fits your style.
Which stage will have the rumor weed as a boss?
I don't know. But we need a stage with the chocolate bunny for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there would have to be a chocolate bunny.
And I think there'd have to be some pirates who don't do anything. They're just a stage that tests your patience. See how long you can wait. If you wait 20 minutes, you complete the stage.
And there's like about 2 people in our audience that understand all these references.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, those are my kids. All right.
Yeah.
Toho Kinjokyo. Oh boy. Toho.
Yeah,
Kinjokyo, Fossilized Wonders. You know, you just put there should be like a subtitle in there. It just says Toho 20. Because the titles are just starting to get all over the place. Okay, maybe not starting, but the titles are... You'd just be like subtitles in here. Okay, oh, that's Toho 20. I finally get it. Because it's not like someone's going to look at this and go... It's not like Super Mario Brothers. You know, oh, Super Mario Brothers, you play Super Mario Kart. Well, which freaking one? The Switch? The Super Nintendo? The Game Boy Advance? The one in arcade? You know, it's a... Okay, we need subtitles. We need context in this. So, Toho 20 is now officially out on Steam, which I think was on sale recently.
Yeah, it was.
And couldn't you buy the deluxe edition to get Zune a beer? Wasn't that what that was?
Something like that. The Indiegogo campaign to fund the forthcoming overhead run-and-gun Soviet Borgs is well behind its target and does not appear that it will make the funding target by the end of its run, which, as we record this, is tomorrow. The game is in development for Sega Genesis, Neo Geo, and Dreamcast. If the campaign fails to meet its goal, the team does intend to pursue other funding options, which means that the game is likely still coming, just not via Indiegogo.
From developer Happy Meal and publisher City Connection, another revival title of the Jalico classic is coming soon, Final Formation. Similar to the previously released Final Exarion, this will be an updated take on Formation Z game formula with a spaceship that can transform into a mech to take on enemies in a side-scrolling shooter. The Steam page is up and planned for a 2026 release, and the Nintendo Switch version is set for October 2025 release, well, at least in Japan. Final Exarion released worldwide on the same date, so it's possible the Western release will drop in October as well. Now, Section Z, didn't that borrow a lot from Thexter?
Well, Formation Z.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, sorry, not Section. Yeah, Formation Z.
Yeah, I mean, probably. But then, it probably also borrowed from Macross and other things. I mean, you've got a ship or a plane or something that transforms into a robot. That was just kind of, I mean, there was something in the water
80s.
in Japan in the 80s that
I'm also
everybody was
Transformers,
doing
right?
this.
I feel like half the people around here are now singing, "You've got the touch, you've got the power, you've got the matrix of leadership." That's how you power up. You get the matrix of
Right.
leadership, and there you go. And later on, you're sued by Harmony Gold.
Yes.
That is the proper path. That is the way.
Einen Games has announced a Pydia special for all modern platforms. Similar to the recent release of X Out Resurfaced, this will be a full remake of the classic Amiga shooter Apidya with hand-drawn pixel art, a new arranged soundtrack from famed composer Chris Hulsbeck, and a new two-player cooperative mode, among other features. It's set for a 2026 release, and while no physical version has been announced yet, it's highly likely.
All right, I'm going to pull this is a dad joke here, but you better have Mr. T in there somewhere. I pity ya, fool.
Oh, jeez.
All right, now that we've got our dad joke for the episode, at least the first one out of the way, Tanya Soft has released a vertical shooter, Flash Armor Lume, for free download on tanyasoft.booth.pm page. It looks somewhat 8-bit, though it sounds like it has FM music. The game has multiple ships to choose from with different weapon layouts. It appears to have a bit of a caravan approach. Well, if it's an 8-bit but has FM music, it must have the FM add-on for the Master System.
Yeah, something like that. It was a little bit hard to tell whether it was supposed to have been an 8-bit game or a 16-bit game, but yeah. Hyper Megatech is releasing a series of keychains this year which have playable mini versions of classic arcade games, known as the Super Micro series. Among the titles included will be, in the initial rollout, will be Asteroids, Centipede, and Space Invaders. And Hyper Megatech is under the same parent company as the Evercade line, a company known as Blaze. Yeah, if you need more Asteroids, Centipede, or Space Invaders in your life, then check those out.
You know, it sort of makes me wonder if Tiger Electronics could actually make a comeback by re-releasing stuff like this now.
I mean, maybe.
Let's not give them ideas on here. The Jaguar update of Atari STG shooter Wings of Death is now available or pre-order from Songbird Productions. As of this recording, it appears the limited version has already sold out. At least when I heard Atari STG shooter, I don't know why, but I was like, oh, please let them not make a sequel to Trevor McFur.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You and I have spoken for a while that I've been considering getting rid of my Jaguar because I just never play it, but this is kind of making me want to order it and, play it.
Hey, first of all, you got to use the cool kids term so that way more people play. It's not a Jaguar with a toilet add-on, okay? It's not a fancy toilet on there. What it is, it's a Jag. That is,
I thought
it's bespoke name given by Digital Foundry, and you must adhere to the bespokenness. It is the Jag.
I thought for a second you were gonna accost me for not using the European pronunciation or the UK pronunciation, the Jaguar.
No, thank goodness for not that, or the Australian version, Sega.
Sega.
Sega. I love those regional dialects. I do think they're great. But when you're listening to a YouTube video and people go Sega, it makes me wonder what they think of. Oh, look at those crazy Americans again. They're saying Sega. What the heck?
Right. Steam shoot 'em up Highway Rampage is getting an overhaul from the development team, Lasso Games, with new mechanics, new graphics, quality of life enhancements, and more. It will be rebranded as Super Highway Rampage upon the updated release. And an update trailer has been released, but no data for the update drop has been announced.
Well, I can't wait for Highway Rampage 64, Highway Rampage Reloaded, Highway Rampage XXL. I'm going to just keep going.
Right.
Vectrix is back, sort of. It's back now in POG form. No. The Vectrix name is now owned by a new entity, and a Kickstarter campaign is launching for a Vectrix mini console that will have an AMO LED screen, a high HDMI output, and a wireless controller that mimics the original 4-button analog pad, an ST slot for expansion, and several built-in games, including Mindstorm 2. The full list of included games hasn't been announced, but the SD expansion card will make it possible to load up your chosen ROM on the device, including Homebrew. Yeah, I think this was sort of interesting where people were talking about with 4K TVs and the way that we're going with OLED and some of these, we can get really close emulation or approximation of vector games from the Atari. That's why a lot of the Atari stuff from last generation is still held in pretty good regard, because it looks fantastic on a modern HD screen.
Yeah. I know there's I can't remember the name of it, but I know there's a Vectrix emulator that came out a few years ago that tries really hard to replicate that bright glow and look of a vector screen. And if you have a 4K screen, supposedly it's supposed to get relatively close to being able to replicate it. I don't know how well they're going to do on this small AMOLED panel, but I'm curious to see, and I am this is very tempting.
Yeah, anytime you put OLED in it, you can almost expect that they're going to get some pretty good quality out of it.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm worried about is the burn-in, but I seem to remember that there was burn-in on the original, so whatever, Let's go. Yep.
Gmode Archives is getting another shmup. This time it is Exerion DX, which was a mobile port of the Jalico arcade shooter Exerion from 1983. No release date has been announced for this yet, but a short gameplay trailer is available. It's also unclear if this will come to the Nintendo Switch eShop outside of Japan.
Nice. Developer Catnip Games NL is working on a new Damaku-style vertical shooter with a twist. Your ship can soak in bullets and use them to fuel attacks against the enemies. Game's early in development, so there's no other info other than a teaser trailer on the dev's YouTube page.
Recently revitalized publisher Apogee is releasing a Survivors-like game called Rising Heat, slated for an October 14th drop on Steam. No word on other platforms yet, and it does look a bit shmuppier than the usual Survivors type fare. Might be worth checking out.
The birds on there. So tell me, how's this game look? It looks shmuppier.
Well,
it looks more like a shmup than than like a Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, I mean it looks like it leans into the shmup DNA a little bit more. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
A new final demo has been released to Kickstarter backers of Arena Genesis Metal Fury. Has 5 playable levels, which not all will be in the final game. Cool. Yeah.
I backed this on Kickstarter, so I downloaded the demo. And according to the dev, this is getting close to what the final release is going to be. So actually, I downloaded it, I haven't put it on my flash cart to actually play on real hardware yet, but I just threw it into RetroArch and messed with it for a few minutes and got some graphical corruption in the game, actually after defeating the stage 1 mid-boss. And so I took a photo of it, or I took a screenshot, posted it in their Discord, and the couple of the devs were like, can you try this in a different emulator? I know we have a problem with RetroArch right now. Well, then somebody else posted a photo of the same thing and said, I'm playing on an actual Mega Drive, and this is happening to me. And so, there's still a few bugs to work out, but
well, you found what's a hidden feature. It's not a bug; it's a hidden feature.
Right. But yeah. So anyway, I've been really impressed with Eartheon, and I've been really impressed with ZPF. But I'm also impressed with this. Aside from the voice samples in the game, which are actually mostly very clear, I think they're probably going to end up just using more memory to make the voices clear. But this feels the most like a 90s Genesis shmup of the 3 games, in terms of how it looks, how it plays, how it sounds, minus the voices. It definitely has that 90s, that early 90s Genesis and Mega Drive shmup feel. So I think, once we get the final product, I think anyone who's itching for that era of shooter will be pleasantly surprised.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
And finally, Blast Rush LS has now launched on Steam.
Very nice. All right, so let's move on and talk about 1941. 1941 was the game that we played in July of 2025, and we had a nice set of people who participated with us. They were Delta Mudkip, Pony Trigon, Schlarp, Orc Commander, Desolus, Eat Electric Death, and DL Wraith. It looks like we had to temporarily close the International House of Zebras, but I'm certain they'll be back. So, once again, mentioned that we're playing 1941, and this is not the 1941. What the heck was the sequel to this? The solo sequel. This is the arcade release, not the redo or remaster. I keep on calling it Kai, but I don't think that's right.
Oh, right. It was 1943 Kai. Yeah, it was the kind of redux of 1943.
But anyway,
this was the next, full game.
So, 1941 Counterattack was developed and published by Capcom in the arcades. It was first released in Japan in February of 1990, then May 1990 in North America, as well as 1990 in Europe, which was distributed by Electrocoin. This was among the earliest games of Capcom's CP system hardware, more commonly known as CPS-1, which, quick note for trivia time for everybody, CPS stands for Capcom Play System, right?
Yep.
Other notable games on this hardware include Forgotten Worlds, UN Squadron, Carrier Airwing, Ghouls and Ghosts, Final Fight, and of course, Street Fighter, the World Warrior. So, 1941's credits or programming credits include director. Oh boy, here we go. My mark on mistakes is going to show here. Yoshiki Okamoto, who previously directed 1942, as well as working on both Time Pilot and Gyros at Konami before joining Capcom. Planners were Noritaka Funazumi, aka Pooh, and Rikite. Designers Akira Nishitani, famously known for Street Fighter II and Final Fight, Noritaka Funazu, and Toshihiko Uda. Programmer Yoshihiro Shindome, and artists were Akemi Kurahara, Akira Yasuda, aka Akiman, known for many Capcom games including 1942, Sidearms, Forgotten Worlds, Final Fight, Street Fighter II, X-Men, Children of the Atom, and more, and Sadaki Matsumoto. The composer was Hiromitsu Takoi, also worked on Mega Twins and Super Buster Brothers. So, a lot of veterans on here. The only home release of this game's relevancy was on the ill-fated, how dare you say ill-fated, Super Graphics platform. That thing was incredible. It looked like a engine. It had the power. If only it had Paul Rudd, it could have made a name for itself. As everyone knows, in the 90s, if you want to make your console stand out, you need Paul Rudd, and sadly, Nintendo got to him first.
Indeed.
Subsequent emulation releases of the game appeared on the Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2 on PS2 and Xbox, as well as Capcom Collection Remixed on PSP. It is also one of the downloadable arcade games for Capcom Arcade Stadium Volume 1 for the PC, Switch, Xbox, and PS4. Unlike the previous entries, 1941 is set in Europe as opposed to the Pacific Theater. Levels and bosses are loosely based, and we stress loosely based, upon European World War II locales and military equipment. This is the first game in the series to include another aircraft to play as. Player 1 still pilots the P-38 Lightning, but Player 2 will fly the de Havilland DH-98 Mosquito. It's a twin engine of the British construction and frequently used as a bomber during World War II combat. 1941 is a 2-button game, which means that it works great with the 8-bit keyboard. One button fires your weapons, both primary and sub-weapon. If you have one equipped, pressing and holding the fire button will charge up a strong secondary attack that will vary depending upon the weapon that's active. The second button will deploy the Mega Crash weapon, which I feel like has been taken from a Mega Man villain, another Capcom. It will deploy a screen-clearing smart bomb similar to the lightning attack from 1943. Each use of the Mega Crash will consume 1 hit point for your vitality meter. There are 3 sub-weapon pickups that you can obtain by destroying squadrons of red planes. As in previous games, similar to 1943, these are on timer, though the time is more generous than that game. The max weapon you can have by stacking power-ups is 99 seconds. You have the machine gun that gives you a more powerful attack than the default guns. The charge shot for this also gives you some homing missiles. The missile augments your plane with missiles that reach on each side of the plane and can crawl on walls. Charge shot is similar to that of the machine gun with a large spread of missiles that fire out in several directions towards the plane. The super shell is a forward twin laser attack. It has a piercing ability and is the strongest of 3 weapons. However, it's narrow focus, making it hard to use in some scenarios. Its charge shot is a 3-way laser. Everyone uses finger quotes on that one. Other pickups you can get are the red POW icon, or POW, which will restore 1 unit of vitality. If the POW is left on the screen for long enough, it will change to a sub-weapon pickup or possibly multiple sub-weapon types. The blue POW will restore 2 units of vitality. This also score item pickups such as bamboo shoots, cows, strawberries, and dragonflies. Because who doesn't like picking up cows for points?
Exactly.
In addition, the Shichi will grant a full restore of all units of vitality. There are 2 types of helper pickups. We have Side Fighters that function the same as they did in 1942. In 1943, they augment your firepower to some extent and will provide some coverage. Side Fighters can also take several hits before they're destroyed. When they take enough damage to be down to the last hit, the sprite color will darken, letting you know that they are nearly spent. Side Fighters can be used for quickly taking out larger enemy planes or taking a few bullet hits. I have to say, if they're anything like my playthrough, they're always on fire.
Well, and the Side Fighters being something you can use in a more offensive capacity. A lot of the playthroughs that I watched, when you see players pick up the Side Fighters in stage 1, they're essentially using them to take out the large planes that come from the bottom of the screen. most players are just using those side fighters to take out those planes and not even worry about having upgraded fire with them, because they're just really useful for that.
I'm calling you cannon fodder number 1 and you cannon fodder number 2.
Right, yeah.
I have to say, during my playthroughs, I kept thinking of the NBA Jam. He's on fire.
Right, yeah.
When they were destroyed, to make him say boom shakalaka. Although I feel like someone's going to mod that in now.
Right.
The after image provides a small set of shadow planes that will trail your position. Each shadow plane provides additional firepower and can even block a bullet or damage an enemy if the after image comes into contact with it. One unique feature of 1901 is the spin ability. That's not unique. Come on, that has been in other shmups. Remember, we've got to spin it to win it? No, this is probably the first time this was actually shown, though. If your plane comes into direct contact with scenery elements, it won't be damaged. Instead, your plane will spin around like a bumper car. If you fire, your weapon will spin and you can direct fire in all different directions and damage enemies you might not otherwise be able to reach. This is critical in some spots to help you destroy enemies in tight corridors. Yeah, this is sort of like... it's not like I expected huge historical accuracy, but this is really weird. The movement of the way that you're zipping through these and the fact that your car just spins make me think that you were sort of like on a weird Disneyland dark ride or something, or you're playing a rally game. It almost felt like I was drifting, and that Night of Fire would just start playing. I wasn't expecting it to be so much like Initial D when I'm drifting through there. It was more like an airplane, and this just seemed a little too absurd.
Yeah, I wonder what Capcom was thinking with this. If this was just a, hey, we want to try this new mechanic, or, you know, what the impetus was for implementing this. I mean, it would have been interesting to be on a fly on the wall of some design meetings when someone either suggested this or when, if the producer or designer said, yeah, we're going to do this new thing and everybody's going to love it. Were the dev team excited about it and say, oh, this is new? Or were they all scratching their heads going, okay, what are we going to do with this?
I wonder if there's someone that just... I don't think that Initial D came out till later, so I don't think it was from that. Maybe someone was like, I just watched a 24-hour marathon of Speed Racer, and I just thought, instead of doing that, why don't we just have it do all sorts of crazy stuff?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like almost either Initial D, you're drifting, or maybe it's inspired by... It's got a little bit of Crazy Taxi DNA in there. It's time to make some crazy money.
Well, it's this was out before, well before either of those, and just for the record, there was no Eurobeat in 1941.
Oh, hey, it's definitely unique. The other thing that sort of took me by surprise at this game is 1943, the arcade game, is like the Lord of the Rings movie, right? And sometimes the extended. It's a long game. It's a good game.
Yeah.
I'll take you through. It definitely has its struggles, but it will take you a long time. 1943, the NES game, is like The Hobbit. It's like, this could have been one movie, but somehow we've extended it way beyond what it should be. So,
yes.
And then this, even though it's sort of a regular shmup with 6 levels, it feels like a miniseries in comparison.
I mean, this is...
Yeah.
This is like the edited for TV version of a movie where, they've really condensed it down and... put it to where it's only the relevant stuff that you've got,
Yeah, but it's only it's the regular standard 6 stages, so it's a standard length for a shmup. But because the previous games were so long, by comparison, you're thinking, wow, this is really short.
Yeah. Well, and realistically, it is. I mean, if you watch playthroughs of this game, they're only like 25, 28 minutes long.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that it doesn't have to be long in order to be good. And I think that 1943, even the arcade game, is a little bit too long for its own good. Nothing, barring the NES game that just goes, this time it's back and it's blue. Okay. It's got the RPG elements here. This plane is better and stronger because it's blue. No. But anyways, moving on. We talked about 1941 being smaller and the spin these. Unlike 1943, where the amount of energy you receive after each stage was partially due to performance, you always get a full refill of your vitality units after each stage. The stages in the original Japanese and international releases are as follows. This is from the 1940 wiki page. Stage 1, the Atlantic, where you're flying over the ocean itself and approach the European continent. This boss is an area is Leviathan, a large twin boom bomber with multiple attacks. There are several turrets dotted around the place that will fire at your relative position. It will also drop spreads of balloons out with mines that move slowly to hit you. Once you destroy the tail wing, the center fuselage turret will fire, bullet spreads out at you. Occasionally, the Leviathan will come down the screen and try and box you in. Yeah, that's another one that took me by surprise, at least initially, was I don't remember any of the 1943 bosses trying to box you in.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is the sea base, which sees you approaching a large military installation through a mountainous area, taking out several planes, turrets, and small ships along the way. Eventually, you'll reach the end of the area where the base itself is culminating in a fight with a Bismarck. Historically, the Bismarck was the first of 2 Bismarck-class warships built for the Nazi Navy, or the Kriegsmarine. It was named for Otto von Bismarck, the German Chancellor, who was behind the unification of Germany in 1871. Construction of the ship began in 1936 and completed in 1940. The Bismarck and sister ship Tirpitz were the largest German battleships ever constructed and among the largest ships by any European country. The more you know. The deck of the Bismarck is littered with turrets, so expect heavy fire. Taking out the turrets quickly will change shots, and charge shots will be important for survival. Stage 3 is a fortified zone. This land is approaching a large base with many enemy threats present. As you penetrate the outer defenses, you'll encounter a large number of turrets and flamethrowers, along with missile carriers and various enemies. The boss is a V3 rocket. This is the that's not my final form rocket.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, the V3 rocket is actually based upon the German V2 rocket, or Vergleich two. And I'm sure someone right after that just says, God bless you. Translating to Retribution Weapon 2. It was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. You approach the V3 inside a large missile silo and try to thwart its launch, taking out the boosters in the rear of the rocket first, eventually moving alongside it, and taking or destroying out the turrets and missiles enemies along the way before passing over the rocket and swinging on the other side. If you can destroy enough of the fuselage, you'll take on the front portion of the rocket itself, which will try and damage you with time boost and exhaust. Do enough damage, and you can stop the launch. Stage 4 is the city, and is likely based upon Paris in some way, due to the inclusion of the Arc de Triomphe. I don't know what it is on Japanese games, but the Arc de Triomphe, it's like never shows up once in in a game when they're like, yeah, this is Paris, and we're going to show you why, because here's the Eiffel Tower 6 times for some reason, and here's the Arc de Triomphe for at least 10 times. So that way you know you're in Paris. So the Arc de Triomphe is a famous monument of the west end of Paris in the Palace Charles de Gaulle Junction. The stage sees you flying over a waterway in this city area as you approach land. The boss of the stage is known as Crotte, which is a large fortified tank. It has turrets up front, a pair of elevators in the back which spit out flying enemies, and a pair of boom arms with turrets at the end. The center portion of the boss has a flamethrower that will shoot the full height of the screen, and it comes with 3 bullet spread volleys. The boom arms and elevators can be destroyed, as well as the surface turrets, making the bullet spreads easier to dodge, and you don't have to navigate turret, fire, and flying enemies as well. Yeah, stage 3 was a little bit of a wall for me.
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, stage 4.
Yeah, stage 3 was my initial wall, I think, and then stage 4 for a little bit was a wall. Very, very challenging.
Stage 5 is air battle, which takes place in the clouds above the European landscape and townships. Many small planes flying and enemies attack from all sides. This stage contains several mid-sized planes to take down. The boss here is an advanced version of the Leviathan, complete with red wings, this time which contains 4 turrets each, as well as rocket engines that will burn you with their exhaust. Turrets mounted near the rear of the plane will shoot small bullet spreads at you, as well as more balloons like its first iteration. Once the side engines... I don't know why I just... This is a problem with doing it. Are they Luftballons? 99 red Luftballons?
Oh, they could be, yeah.
Uh-oh, watch out for those. Or the song. Alright. Once the side engines are destroyed, the tail wing is taken out, and the Leviathan will deploy a flamethrower similar to the Crotte, and will fire large bullet spreads and small rockets at you. Stage 6 is the final countdown, or the final battle. This takes place in a secret base located in the forest. I wonder if it's the Ardennes forest, and takes you around the ruins of an old castle. Castle Wolfenstein?
Not likely.
B.J. Blazkowicz has got to escape. The base is littered with turrets, tanks, and many flying enemies to contend with. Partway through the stage is a fight that will take what appears to be an upgraded Crotte. This time it has a defense wall that can only penetrate when the gates come down periodically. Or on sides underneath that wall are turrets and flames that shoot. Yeah, this one was a giant pain in the butt. Once through the wall, you can attack the 2 side sections that have multiple turrets and exhaust vents, as well as the center position with its flamethrower and spread bullets. Once the center portion is destroyed, you'll need to attack one or more of the elevators to destroy them so that they fly through the rest of the stage. The approach to the final boss is littered with turrets, flame cannons, missile installations, along with tanks and flying enemies to deal with along the way. Once you've gone through the final quarter, you are to take on a large flying warship that has missile bays, spread cannons, and armed turrets. It will fly around the screen in a circular formation as it forces you to fly up and around to take out the propeller areas and missile pods. Once you destroy all 4 propeller protrusions, the warship is destroyed. And then you move out into the open air and take on the final boss, Gotha. You know, I feel like it's a little missed opportunity. I'm sure there's some historical context for Gotha, but it'd be cool if it was final boss Bertha. Anyways. This is based upon the Horten HIXRLM designed hull, also known as the Gotha Go 229, which is the later designation of the redesign for mass production. It was a German prototype bomber designed by Reimer and Walter Horten, as was slated to be built by Gotha Wubenfabrik late in the World War II conflict. I'm sure someone said, God bless you again. It was the first wing craft powered by jet engines. The Gotha flies around the screen and circles around, using its jet engine exhaust to attack you, as well as deploying volleys of large blue orbs that will try to home in on your position. This will force you to move around the Gotha, moving into you, as well as avoiding the blue orbs. They can be destroyed. The Gotha has similar attacks to your plane, but can use the after image effect to have clones of itself blow into position, as well as the super shell laser attack fired towards your position as well. Yeah, stage 6 is just, it's a slog for sure.
Yeah, the interesting thing about stage 6, since you noted that even though the game is much shorter than the other games, stage 6 is, I think, twice as long as any of the other stages in the game. And so while the game itself is shorter, stage 6, yeah, it's definitely a slog. And the fact that there are, 3 or 4 boss fights during the stage?
Yeah.
It's pretty bananas.
Oh, geez. When you're talking like that, it just makes me want to play the new Donkey Kong game.
Oh, yeah.
So after each stage, the game tallies the number of aircraft you destroyed, calculates your shooting percentage, your destroying percentage, and then assigns you a rank based upon these values. There are several notable differences between the Japanese or international versions of the game and the version that came to the US market. In Stage 1 of the Atlantic, the JP release, or Japanese release, is being moved to Stage 3 in the US ROM, making the US version significantly harder from the outset due to the increase in enemies and tighter spaces in that level. In the Japanese version, you start with 3 vitality units and earn additional as the game goes along for a maximum of 6 units. You earn 1 after Stage 1, another after Stage 3, and the final vitality unit is after Stage 5. The US version starts with 4 vitality units, but you don't earn any extras throughout the game. In the Japanese version, after image ships, simply fire shots. Like your default weapon in the US version, however, your weapons get more of a buff. In both side fighters and after image shoot out additional shots with the weapon you have equipped, making your arsenal a bit more formidable. A minor change from the US version has a short intro screen before each stage telling you what each one is and the boss will be, whereas the Japanese version of the stage just begins.
Yeah, and I didn't put anything in the notes here, but I did briefly play a little bit of the Super Graphics version, so I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Obviously that there are changes because of the standard 4:3 Yoko aspect ratio and orientation, and so the game does feel a little bit cramped compared to the arcade version. There are definitely a couple of areas where you feel very boxed in, and so it can get a little claustrophobic when there's a lot going on. I would say overall, it's fairly faithful to the original arcade version in a lot of respects. There are some cut downs that they had to make, some changes, but I would say most of the enemies are there. There's a couple of spots where maybe there's a few more planes actually, but generally speaking, most of the enemy layouts kind of match what's in the arcade version, with a couple of notable changes. As far as I can tell, the power-up sequences and the hidden item stuff is all pretty much the same, at least the stuff that I knew about. And so that was a nice touch. The bamboo sprout that shows up in stage 1 in the clouds, you can uncover in the same place. The cow that shows up on the left side when you destroy the bridge on the sea base level is still there. And then, I guess when you destroy the dam wall at with the big 4 turrets on it, and then like in stage 6, when you approach the area just before the second version of the Croat, there's a strawberry that will appear just beyond the wall on the left side. That's still there. And so I think a lot of this stuff is the same. Overall, it's a relatively faithful attempt at porting the arcade game over. I will say it is easier. It took me a couple of tries to find a groove with the game because of some of the differences. But once I did, after I think 4 or 5 attempts, I was already, I had made it pretty far into the game. And after maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes with the game, I made it to stage 6 on 1 credit. And then I think I made it to the, what was it? I think I made it to that second version of the Croat. And, oh no, I made it to the first kind of mid boss in stage 6, which is that weird flying contraption with the 2 big cannons on the side and then the 1 large cannon in the center that has a thing that opens and closes as its weak point. That was one of the changes that I noticed is there's some really nasty hitbox stuff going on in that fight. When those side cannons fire out, it is very easy for you to take a hit, even if you're not anywhere close. If the shells come out and they explode, the area of effect damage will hit you. I got to that fight with, I think, 5 vitality units, and I lost 3 during that fight. And most of the bosses in the Super Graphics version have a much less HP, so they go down a lot quicker. But this boss, for whatever reason, took me forever to beat. And so it was really a pain. But once I got beyond that, I actually got all the way through the stage and reached Gotha. And so I would have been a 2cc, but then Gotha took me out, and I ended up putting in a 3rd credit to finish the fight. But so I think a 1cc of the Super Graphics version, if you know the game, is actually reasonably doable. And I mean, I played this just yesterday morning, actually, as we record this. And it's been a solid 3 weeks plus since I've touched 1941, because we're recording this now almost a month later. And like I said, within 30-40 minutes, I was getting to the end of the game already. So I had enough knowledge about how the game plays and, what I needed to do in order to accomplish that. So I think the Super Graphics version would be a decent alternative for someone who maybe is struggling with the arcade version. This might be something to try.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good, as long as you don't mind spending the $400 to $500 to get the original hardware or play it on a Mister.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I ended up just playing it in RetroArch just so I could, check it out.
Yeah. I mean, certainly it's not a cheap game to get physically. That's a lot to ask for a monthly episode. So.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I don't think anybody actually played the Super Graphics version during the month, because the arcade version is so accessible now that, unless you were curious about it, it really didn't make a lot of sense.
Unless you were super curious about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but all of a sudden this, I've been hearing Pink Floyd, all in all, you're just another Croat in the wall. I don't know why that's been by my head, but there we go. All right.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and move on to the graphics here. And one thing I got to say, the visuals are a noticeable improvement over 1943 in terms of the amount of detail in the graphics, the broader use of color, more varied locales. There's a greater diversity of enemies and threats to engage with. Now, initially, the colors don't look quite as bright as those of 1943, but the game is far more colorful overall. I did think that when I first played that possibly the US release was a little bit brighter than the Japanese version, but after doing some side-by-side comparisons, that turns out not to be the case. So it might just have been that, the stage, because the stage order has changed, it might just have been that first stage felt brighter to me. And as you kind of touched on earlier, while there are some enemy designs that are based upon real aircraft or other military vehicles, 1941 very much begins to lean into that fantastical far more than the previous games, and separates itself more clearly from the reality that it's kind of based upon. Boss designs especially really take liberty with their designs much more than the previous two games, other than the vast difference in size between your P-38 or the Mosquito and the boss sizes that we would see in 1942 with the large plane bosses, or the 1943 Ayako fights.
Oh, wait, hold on. You're telling me they didn't have a rocket the size of the Empire State Building that you had to fight in P-38 Lightning in World War II? I'm disappointed.
Well, it's history is not always as interesting as the fantastical ways that we like to envision it.
Yeah. I was just thinking, if that had happened and there was like a parodious Capcom series, you probably would see King Kong at the end of that thing.
That would be funny, actually. Just touching on the sound here briefly, I found the sound effects in the game to be a mixed bag. I think the regular sound effects are generally solid, with your shot sounds and explosions having the weight and the impact that you would expect. However, the beeping sound that plays when you're out of vitality units is just as annoying as the energy sound from low energy sound from 1943. And then the whining sound that you hear as you charge your weapon, or the higher pitch sound you get when it's fully charged and waiting to fire, it can become grating very quickly. The soundtrack, though, I did find a bit more varied than that of 1943, evoking more moods than the kind of triumphant sound that you get in 1943. Instead, in 1941, you have a mix of sort of hopeful, pensive, tense, and even eerie at times. The final stage even has some nice subtle callbacks that sort of tie it all together. The drum sound is punchy, and the FM synth sounds good as a backdrop against all the noise from combat.
Yeah, I have to say that because 1942, the soundtrack was almost non-existent, in 1943, by having a soundtrack at all, it was there. So the bar was pretty low, but it's definitely put some good effort into this. This is something that, based upon the series pedigree, you wouldn't have expected. Even if it's not perfect, it's still pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. It's nothing like 1944 that would come much later, but every time I hear 1944, all I could think about is that someone's trying to emulate ZZ Top, or that this is background music for a barbecue joint, right?
Right.
Come on, Get your Capcom barbecue and listen to the smooth sounds of 1944. Probably ZZ Top, right?
Right. Looking at the scoring real quick. Scoring is based on a number of factors. I think the most prevalent one is the end level bonus, which is calculated upon your hit-miss ratio, the number of enemies you destroyed, and how much of the boss you've destroyed. The higher your destruction rate and end bonus is, the higher your score multiplier is then for the subsequent level. The higher the military rank you achieve throughout the game, the higher your ultimate multiplier will be, allowing for very high scores with expert play. And something that kind of ties in with that is you get to the end of the level and you see the level percentage, and then you see below that the overall percentage. And so the higher that your individual level percentages will be, then the higher your aggregate percentage will be for the whole game, and that will then affect your military rank, which then affects your multiplier. Uncovering all the bonus items for score is important, of course. They're all worth a reasonably significant amount. Bamboo sprouts are worth 20,000 each. Cows are worth 50,000 each. Strawberries are 80,000 each. And then the dragonfly is worth 100,000. Maintaining vitality is also vitally important. Pun intended. The POW items are worth 50,000 points if you're at full health, and the Yashichi is worth 100,000 if you're at full health. Collecting the after image while you have it equipped, or similarly the side fighter is fully equipped, will yield you also a 20,000 point bonus. And I think this is one of the first games I can think of, or one of the earliest games where you have a very significant multiplier at work in throughout the course of the game. I mean, there's a very large discrepancy between, I'll say, an average run of the game and a very meticulous score run of the game. As you'll see when we get to the scores here at the end. But if you know what you're doing in this game and you play really well, you can score very high, and it's obvious when you get to that point and you can see just how much different the scores can be when you really put in the effort.
Yeah, so let's talk about effort here from our RF Generation community. We have Delta Mudkip with I'll be playing on Capcom Arcade Stadium 1. Jeepers! 41 stops. Poland's punches a lot faster than 43. From my experience, the laser is the best boss killer. Missile is good against crowds of little guys, and machine gun is good against medium-large enemies. Machine gun's charge attack is a bit of a lock-on, which definitely helps me out a bunch. I meant to ask which version we're playing, primarily because overseas in Japan have quite a lot of differences, especially in stage order. In Japan, it's Leviathan, Bismarck, V3 Rocket. In the world version, it's Bismarck, V3 Rocket, Leviathan. There's a whole bunch of changed item positions. I remember the US version having a POW, where the Japanese one had a Shichi, for example. And the missile and laser being introduced a lot earlier in the Bismarck level in the US version. I think the bomb works differently too, at least it looks different. Got my first fly-through for the month last night. These were on the easiest difficulty settings, US version, and my continues were halfway through the V3 boss's fight. Got freaking cornered in a way that I was apparently supposed to have to predict 5 seconds in advance. Croat, I think, during Leviathan Mark II, and then once the latter 3 bosses stage 6, the last of which was right after the final few shots too.
Pony Trigon joined up and said, main criticism I have with this game is, compared to 1943's fuel system, I am not a fan of this game's vitality system. It's your health, and it's also your bomb. You start with 5 hits, and you lose them pretty quickly. You use a bomb, you're down a hit point. And you pretty much need those hit points with how odd some of these shot patterns are. Again, might just be me needing more practice. It's much faster paced compared to 43. Also, another gripe I have. It's a little bit difficult to hear the music. I can hear the drums kicking in, but the melodies are really hard to hear amidst all the gunfire, which is sad because this is some Street Fighter-esque Capcom crunchy brilliance right here. First run before I go to a job interview. Pretty decent. I'm going to need a lot of practice for stage 2. So I decided to pop into the P-38's hood here and saw there was an option to speed up and slow down bullet speeds. That might benefit y'all. I set my bullet speed to fast and managed to not get hit up until I got to the big boy himself, Bismarck. I just realized I have a second controller, and this is how I'm going to play from now on. I'm going to be the old Skeeter. Missile is really good for turrets on walls. Machine gun and laser are both good for bosses, but machine gun is better for crowd control. Like what Kip said, the missiles home in on enemies. I will say, the faster bullet speed does make this game a little bit easier, but it also makes reading patterns a little harder, especially when you have stuff like Stage 4, flying through and blowing up France of all places. I assume it's France because there's the Arc de Triomphe in that stage. Later on, Pony said the US version starting you off with Bismarck and the V2 rocket as your first bosses is proof this game fires off its engines way too early, because both of those bosses are brutal. Meanwhile, Leviathan is our good old friend Ayako in a different coat of paint. Everyone likes an Ayako. I understand introducing the player to the funny mechanic, but the US version's pacing is off. And then again later, barely managed to squeak past Bismarck with a lucky Yashichi, Japan version. Also, I learned the barrels in the trench can hurt you from their shrapnel. Yes, they can. I experienced that myself. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one either. It's a lot shorter, yes, but it's also really brutal. It's one of the reasons why I prefer the health system in 1943 over this one. The vitality system feels like one step forward, but way too many steps back. And again, I can barely hear the music in this one. This game's got some really good music, but it's severely drowned out by the gunfire. I can only hear the drum beats. Something I noticed while doing a practice run of the North American version, I have not seen a single Yashichi anywhere. Meanwhile, the Japanese version gives out at least one Yashichi per level. Scratch that, I have encountered one Yashichi, and it's in probably the worst level to put a Yashichi, Leviathan Mark II. I say worst because that's one of the stages where, if you know what you were doing, you will take barely any damage. Again later, me personally, Japan version feels more approachable. North American version feels like it blows its load way too early, and you feel exhausted around stage 4. Japanese version feels better paced in my eyes. Also, I agree with Guru's points. I had more fun with 1943, and this game is just a ballbuster. Main reason why I preferred 1943's bomb and health method than 1941's vitality bomb method, especially since the Japanese version has the iconic loop when you bomb. No vitals? Enemy swarm? You're screwed. This is one of the very few games where I have a chance to play it with the difficulty dialed down to even stand a full fighting chance. Later on, Pony did say, I got me a 1cc, Japan version difficulty 2. V3 and stage 6 are still very rough. And then for final thoughts, right off the bat, I'll admit I came into this game thinking I was going to hate it. I wasn't a fan of the vitality system because I always felt like adding a health bar to a shmup would make a player play recklessly. That may be my Dragon Spirit muscle memory kicking in because this game does a very delicate dance with the vitality system. After giving it a fair shake and bumping the difficulty down only a smidge, I came out actually enjoying this game and bagging an easy difficulty 1cc. It wasn't easy, but it was far more manageable than 1943, mainly because of this game's length. Now for the positives. The stages. The stages are all varied and colorful, and there's a nice mix of air-to-air and air-to-ground. The air-to-ground stages take advantage of this game's gimmick, which I like to call quote, the funny, unquote, because it looks funny when the plane spins around while grinding on a wall. It's very useful against swarms, and I learned even your wingmen can do the funny. The weaponry roster is shrunken down to 3 weapons, but they're all functional. Machine gun is great for crowd control. Missiles fire wall crawlers that greatly expand your range. And Super Shell is the boss killer, dealing massive damage but lacking range, like all good laser weapons. Also, the inclusion of either wingman or an afterimage, which is basically a variant of Gradius options. The wingmen, also annihilating bombers and taking barely a scratch, helped a lot with survival in some stages. The sound effects are very chunky, very splody, very loud. Has that Capcom crunch I really like with the Capcom games. I think this is where Capcom crunch style started. I could be wrong. The music. It's very catchy, and there's a strong drum sound throughout, so even when it gets drowned out by gunfire, which happens a lot, you can still hear it, kinda. Mainly the drums, which give a consistent rhythm. The vitality system. I was wary of this at first, mainly due to the fact that it is really easy to get reckless in a game like this, but this game rewards strategic positioning rather than going in guns blazing, hence the wall riding. Much like 1943, your health is also your bomb, so the strategy is in making sure you have enough vitality to set off a bomb and clear a swarm to get some breathing room. Much more viable strategy in the Japanese version due to how generous it is with the Yashichi. The bosses. I like that this game decided to lean in a little less on the realism and more on, screw it, giant war machines, giant missile, wall of guns. I like this approach compared to the more realistic 1943. And also, the all-important end screen where the P-38 and the Mosquito, if playing multiplayer or player 2, flies off as the boss becomes a smoldering, flaming mess. And now, the negatives. The music is great, but I really wish I could hear it better because most of it is really quiet and gets drowned out by the noise of gunfire and explosions. There's a few points in the game where you get just enough of a breather to hear the music, but man, I really wish I could hear the music without having to look it up separately. The pacing. I feel the Japanese version is better paced compared to the US version. The English version starts off a little too strong with you fighting Bismarck and then fighting the V3 before getting to the first air-to-air stage. Meanwhile, the Japanese stage 1 starts you off smooth with an air-to-air stage where you can easily get the hang of this game's pacing. Also, Yashichi and health distribution is a lot more generous in the Japanese version compared to the English version, where you're more likely to get hit often and there's rarely a Yashichi in sight. Also, 1 life, just like 1943. That's also a knock against the vitality system. I'm not a fan of games that give you only a health bar and no real backup lives, but again, might just be me and my dragon spirit bias talking. Overall, a few steps forward, a few steps back. There are things I really like, and there are things I don't like, but I'm glad I finished this game with a greater appreciation for what it tries to do and the systems it has in place. I give this game a Mosquito out of 10.
Very nice. Yeah, we'll go on more on this later, but 1941, for me, I was just so shocked by how much this game has transformed versus the previous one. Because 1942 to 1943, it's sort of like it goes from 8 to 16, and all of a sudden with 41, you're looking at going, wait a second, when did we jump to the PS1? It's just a such a leap over the previous games, and some of the stuff is good and some of the stuff is not. But yeah, we really will cover for Pro New Trigger. Although I think this is something that he could turn into a thesis for if he were to give a TED talk. This would be a good TED talk. Alright, let's move on to Schlarp. In the Japanese version, the pickups are stationary and do not float around. I will play the Japanese version or international release as like the Japanese version. Apparently, there are 2 different international releases.
Yep. Orc Commander jumped in and said, did a couple of credits and made it deep into Stage 6. Japanese version. You also can't continue if you die here. And then later, got to the last boss, but wasted too many hits on the blimp phase and then died to this final boss attack. Later post, got him! You definitely want Shell for the last boss since it takes a while to kill even with auto plus Shell. The boss's movement is a bit random. Sometimes it moves almost the entire screen to your position. Sometimes it's away or a short distance. So you kind of have to estimate where it's going and avoid getting trapped. I like how the final phase of the final boss uses some player stuff. And again later, 11 mil reached. There were a few close calls here and there, especially that Leviathan Mark II fight. I took too many hits on the opener phase and thought I was cooked. Did a quick credit of the North American version, but all the bonus fruits and items are in the same spots outside of the Bismarck stage Strawberry. Now that I've almost gotten through it, there's some weird changes. First half of the game replaces the Yashichis with blue POWs, but by the last 2 stages, you just get increased POW drops and the normal Yashichi drops. The V3 rocket and Croat tank seem to have more HP and easier to time out as a result. Mega Crush Bomb being a screen-clearing bomb means that you can get rid of a bunch of enemies easier before getting the Yashichi. The After Image power-up now takes on the properties of your shot weapon instead of being supplemental add-ons, making some wall bounces more effective. Charge attack is also faster. Last boss is definitely harder. Seems like Gotha also moves slightly faster. And then cleared the world NA version. Later on then, there is survival rank, but all I know is that it increases over time and drops slightly if you get hit. On top of that, I'm thinking they slightly altered some of those collision and explosion hitboxes on the North American version.
Desolus says, first taste, Japanese version. Holy universe, Batman, the brutality. Gave it about 10 credits and made it the end of stage 2 in a couple of times. Yeah, that is definitely a tough game. I mean, it's not quite Gradius 3 arcade hard, but it gets there.
Yeah. Eat Electric Death said, put some runs in. Overall, a big improvement on the previous game, more tightly paced and varied. Lots of cool set pieces. Still not a fan of the system combining lives and bombs, but at least it's better implemented here than in 1943. Weapon timers feel like an odd relic since they're so generous you will practically never run out. On the downside, the tight corridors are not fun, and sometimes it can be difficult to tell what's damaging terrain and what is a background element. Bullet visibility is also not great, especially when you are point-blanking bosses. I haven't made a serious attempt at a 1cc yet. Could definitely see all those turrets and enemy swarms making my life miserable. But it definitely hooks me more than 1943, which I fell off pretty quickly.
DL Race says, I found some time where I hurt less. Well, hopefully you feel better soon. Still struggling on the joypad, but some reasonable showing after dying the first level 4 times in a row. Just can't get my hands to react quickly enough for all the tight corridors on level 1 and 4 US version. And I can't seem to get the flow going on the Japanese version. It's the weapons. Stuck with a machine gun most of the time sucks for me. Using default difficulty and life settings, no rewind slowdown. Tried the special challenge that didn't make the 700k need to rank. To be fair, the Japanese version level 1 makes a lot more sense. US stage 1 is a bit much visually to cope with straight off the bat, but it is the more impressive stage overall, so I guess using it to wow players and to sucker them in. I just see it like Capcom. Hey kid, want some candy? I got the graphics. Had a second round of serious steroid injections a few days ago. Thought I put my mobility to the test. Got stopped at the 4th boss, but I think I got a new high score. I'll keep plugging when I can. Some of you may hate me for this, but I apologize in advance. 1941 Counterattack is, in my opinion, the far better game than 1943. I know 1943 is a classic, but frankly, the difference in time between these two titles is telling, and I'm glad the series evolved. I didn't get to play much 1941 during the month, but from time to time I had the Titan reinforced with a strong preference for this over 1943, and dare I say this, 1943 Kai. I was playing the English version, or EN, mostly when my scoring was that version of the game. Why I prefer 1941? It comes down to a couple different things. The health system. I have a strong dislike for draining health meters in shmups. 1943 is based around that. I found the switch to health pips instead to be hugely welcome. Shmups stress me out enough without adding an official timer on top. I'm so glad more shmups didn't adopt the health draining model. Flippy spinny YOLO. That's going to be a new word for this podcast right there. Flippy spinny YOLO. I love that contact with the scenery doesn't kill you. Instead, spinning around, shooting your weapons all over this place. This is fun, introduces an element of risk and a little layer of strategy. Use it well and you're golden, but don't rely on it and you'll come unstuck. Weapons, these are meatier than other 19XX titles to me, adding in the charge shot as a bonus. Still a shame we only have 3 weapons though. At least the ammo isn't nearly as easy to run out of time on. Better stage variety and length. The stages and bosses all feel distinct and different in this game, and the game never outstays its welcome for me. Pacing could have done with a bit of work, and the English version really throws a lot at you in the deep end, but the set pieces are fun. And jank. The stage intro animation and urgent jingle are so janky it makes me laugh. Rough, but amusing. I don't hate 1943, but if you put almost any other title in the series in front of me, I'll choose them over this classic. I'm glad to have gotten some time on this title and hopefully able to play more later. Well, thank you for playing through. I know that you've been going through a tough time, so appreciate the many thoughts and good wishes coming your way.
Yeah, hopefully you can get healed up and you know, join us more in the future.
Yes, join us for more abuse in the future.
All right. Going over the scores real briefly.
Wait, before we get to that, there's one addition I'd like to make. 1941 was the first one to make the shmup staple of adding 1 to your score every time you continued, right? So that way...
Yes.
I don't remember you talking about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a good point. I believe 1941 is the first documented game that does the either the pity point or the shame point of the last digit in your score, so that if you throw more credits at it and you look at the high score table, you'll know that someone has used more than 1 credit because it's more than a 0 on that last digit in your score. Speaking of the scores, let's briefly go over those. Most of us were playing the Japanese version. I didn't really separate out the scores because, it was not... We didn't have that many submissions to begin with, but Orc Commander had a commanding lead. As I mentioned, he just really blew the doors off everybody and wound up with a 1cc that garnered 12,119,700 points. And that is the power of getting a high multiplier, increasing your military rank very quickly, and then also playing exceedingly well so that you always get the extra bonus points for POWs and Yashichis. Pony Trigon ended up with 3,690,900 points. I think my best was 3,484,400 points. And then DL Wraith had 1,316,600 points. And as mentioned, Pony Trigon managed a 1cc on the easy difficulty and had 9,590,300 points. Final thoughts?
Jack Handy. All right, yeah, I have to say that I know I can't help myself. 1941, I definitely like. It's different enough from 1943. A lot of people pointed out that the weapon timers, they're the shared. It's a step forward, and I think it was a necessary step forward. It didn't hit on all the beats, right? It was certainly a lot more varied, even if you had to go to some exaggeration or exaggerated proportions in order to do this. This felt like this was Capcom moving forward, but in a way sort of losing a little bit of the identity of the 1940 series. And I think we'll get into more of that into 1944, the Loop Master. When we talk about that next year, I don't know. But when we talk about 1944, how it felt, the Capcom's revival, where they were, right, all these titles in the late 90s, early 2000s were not built by Capcom. But it feels like that's sort of where it's sort of lost its way. It still has the soul of 1940, and there are improvements, but we lost something in the process with 1941, in my opinion. There's just definitely stuff that is worthwhile in going to. It's definitely shorter, and I swear it's like one of those Mandela effects where everyone has the same memory. Because I remember 1943 on the NES being a lot of fun, but as you say, going back and playing now, we wonder if we're just all like, what the heck? You know, with the Bernstein Bears, and everyone's like, with Bernstein Bears, like, were we just all in masochist as kids? Well, this is certainly better because it doesn't electrocute me every time I die. What? So, you know, it's definitely better, and it's definitely quicker to pull you in. 1943 and 1942, stuff that will pull you in, similar like Gradius, but this feels like it is a lot more showmanship in this. For better or for worse, this is a lot more visual effects, you know, a lot more music, a lot more explosions, and some of it works well and some of it doesn't. This is sort of like the teenage years for the 1940 series. And I have to say, I do like this. I found this a lot different, but at the same time, there are certain elements I miss from 1943 where in some ways it was definitely more grounded. It's sort of hard to in the middle. I can't say that one is better than the other. They both have their good points, but it really, and I think people should play 1941. But 1941 is definitely more of an exaggerated take on the series. That doesn't mean it's bad. Yeah. It's just doing something different. It's sort of like saying, okay, 1942 is Street Fighter 1, 1943 is Street Fighter 2, and then all of a sudden now we have Turbo Hyper Fighting. You know, like, okay. You know, it's definitely different, but in many ways it doesn't really evolve it the way that it should be. It's like an add-on that does certain neat things, but it's not a full evolution step. And I think that's what is missing in order to make this a great game. It's still a good game, and it is a very frustrating game. I think that is also one of the reasons why we never got... got really a port for anything other than the super graphics. I just don't think that this is one of those games that would have done well in there. And then in 2 years later, I think it was 92, wasn't it, for Street Fighter 2? After that, it was pretty much all over, right? Because everything had to be a fighting game. So, I think that it just sort of got lost in the shuffle as Street Fighter 2 overtook everything, and that was Capcom's primary mission for years and years and years in the arcade scene.
Right.
So it's definitely worth looking at, but it almost feels like a lost game, right? Something that most people haven't tried.
Right.
And I definitely say you want to give it a shot if you're playing. But in order to understand the differences, you have to play 1942 and 1943 first.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. For me, this game was, I'll say, a bit of a roller coaster ride throughout the month. I started, I played in Capcom Arcade Stadium Volume 1. It defaults to the US version, so I got slapped across the face pretty hard right away, and was very quickly humbled by the Bismarck, and then later by the V3 rocket. After putting some more time in, and then switching to the Japanese version so that I could ease myself in just a little bit more with the air-to-air stage at the beginning, and then learning the Bismarck better, learning the V3 rocket better, I actually started to make some progress. My initial thoughts were Capcom dropped the ball with this game, because I felt like the vitality system was a step backward in some ways from the energy system, because it's more rigid, and I'm not 100% sure I still feel that way after putting more time in, but it is still something that is up in the air. It's still, I'm still undecided, I guess. Then as I started to make more progress, I thought, okay, maybe Capcom didn't drop the ball, but it's definitely still very rough, and they certainly were not catering to the casual audience with this game, because it is not that approachable. And then again, I hit the wall later, and still thought, well, yeah, maybe they did drop the ball. So I was very back and forth with this game. I did manage to have a few runs right at the end of the month where I got all the way to the nasty gauntlet corridor right before the sort of pre-Gotha boss fight. What one of the people who posted with us called the blimp section. And so and that was on the Japanese version. I feel like if I really did some more grinding, I could probably achieve a 1cc. But I'm not sure that it would be a fun 1cc. And that's the thing that I struggle with. I no longer feel as though Capcom dropped the ball with this one necessarily, but I do think that they definitely struggled to make this game a more fun experience while also evolving the formula and and moving it forward. Someone in the Discord said this would be a fun game to play casually, but not a fun game to 1cc. And I think maybe that's where I'm at. The 1cc, as I was playing and as I was doing it, the pressure that I felt was so intense because of just how perfectly you have to play so that you're not losing vitality points. And of course, there are spots where if there's a POW available and you've got full health, or you've got enough health points that you're going to be able to get through, yeah, maybe do a Mega Crush before you grab that POW, just to make sure that you can get through it. Or when there's a Yashichi, abuse that Mega Crush, because if you can make sure that you can position your plane so that you will grab the Yashichi, even if you do so while it's doing the Mega Crush maneuver, you can do that and make that work. The thing is, like I said, I felt this pressure to play near perfectly in order to have a ghost of a chance to actually clear, especially in the final stage. And so it's just really discouraging for me to try and get in there and realistically attempt a 1cc at the end of the month. Just because, as I said, the pressure was just very, very intense. So I feel like it's doable, and it's something that I could maybe manage with a little bit more practice and a little bit more grinding. I'm just not sure that I want to put in the time to do that. Maybe this is a game I'll come back to later and do a revenge 1cc type of clear, and it'll be the kind of thing that I attempt to do after I have continued to level up my skills somewhat. And I can come back to this and have an easier time just relearning the game, getting the flow of the game, and all of that. Watch a couple of clears and have a good idea as to what it is I need to do and so forth. That, I think, could be a viable way to do it. But other than maybe the Super Graphics version, because like I said, I think that one should be relatively easy to get a clear on, I don't see myself coming back to this anytime soon to try and get a clear, because it's just so difficult, and the pressure I put on myself to clear is really, really intense. So I'm not feeling it for trying to get a clear anytime soon. I appreciate what Capcom is trying to do here, and I think I would tend to agree with some of the sentiment in the Discord that there are definite improvements in this. There are a few things I don't like as well, and the difficulty jump overall I struggle with. But I do feel like Capcom was legitimately trying to evolve the game, and they did that. I'm just not sure at the end of the day how much I connect with the changes they made versus what was going on in 1943.
Yeah,
I guess that's where I'm at.
No, it's totally understandable. I think that the Discord sentiment of fun game to play casually, wouldn't want to route it and to learn how to play it for 1cc is totally apt. I think that this is Capcom, as you mentioned, trying to move it forward, and we are stuck in sort of the awkward teenage years where they haven't fully realized it. You're not fully a child, but you're not fully a adult yet either, so you're trying to figure out who you are, and this is 1941's trying to figure out who they are, who the series is. Because they've already done the sort of the same thing twice, not fully, but it's sort of been done, so you have to do something different, but you don't know where you want to end up, so you have to experiment. And this is very much a, flashy, I'm going to change the way I dress, I'm going to change the way I speak. Don't call me Anton, Anthony, call me Anton. Or, how you go, everyone reinvents themselves in middle school and even sometimes going up to high school. And this is sort of like those awkward years where you can see where they're going, but you're just not quite there yet. And I think they would have eventually gotten there had it not been for the explosion of the World Warrior. Right? Street Fighter 2 changed everything. And it just was sort of cut off and they didn't have a chance to even revisit it until the late 90s. So, definitely,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile to try, but realistically, it's not something that everyone's going to be trying to go master. And that's okay. Not everything has to become a complete mastery of it, right? Gradius 3 people mastered because the game is just incredibly hard, at least the arcade version. So it's a badge of honor. If you say I passed 1941 to someone on the farm, they're going to say, cool, but that's probably about it. There's no prestige for doing 1cc. There's no badge of honor. So I think it's just better left of, it'd be fun to go play for a little bit, and then after that you're done. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what's coming next. What's coming supposed to be next, I guess. We are currently playing through 1944 The Loop Master, as they call it in Chicago here. And then in September 2025, we're playing Biohazard Battle, also known as Crying. Oh, crying. So, anyway, very good game. So, the Loop Master, it'll be interesting, but we'll look forward to some more ZZ Top coming soon. Shout outs to Etrem for the logo. Thank you, Guru, for the interesting Billy Bass podcast shirts. Kogosu for the intro and outro music. And MetalFRO, who always makes streaming interesting. Yeah.
I would also like to shout out, we got a lot of devs, a lot of indie devs in our Discord now. And so shout out to all of the new devs who have shown up in the Discord and, are working on their games, repping their games, trying to get feedback from the community. I mean, it's all very good, and hopefully that means that those games are going to be, that they're going to benefit from that by having improvements or, having good quality of life features and things like that our community members can, can help to institute. So that's something that I'm really liking that's happening in our Discord now.
Nice. It's always good to have the CICD in for. Oh geez, I'm showing my IT is showing here. Continuous input, continuous improvement for having an audience that will be willing to give you feedback rather than some semi-anonymous Steam poster who throws in there. So yeah, always good to see that. Always good to. It's because at the end of the day, the people who enjoy the games are the people that are making games, and the people who are making games enjoy playing games. So you're making a game for yourself that you yourself would like to see and play, and getting improvement and feedback in order to meet that goal is always welcome and always valuable, as long as it's constructive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else that we need to mention?
Yeah, I think that at some point we may have to see about bumping Eartheon sooner, because I think that game has enough traction that we should. I don't know if we can fit that in this year. If not, maybe early next year.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to wait on Eartheon until the Sega Genesis release is out, because I know there are going to be people who won't want to play the PC version. And, also people will want to wait for the quote-unquote final version of the game, which I understand, because there are going to be changes between now, between the original Steam release and when that final version drops.
Yeah, I was just thinking we could do like an intro. You can't do this without Koshiro. Genesis does.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We always appreciate the constant feedback and everybody willing to play these games and, in some cases, rewrite our own memories. I swear that I remember in 1943 for the NES being a good game. don't know what happened there. So thank you, everybody. Look forward to the next episode.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you next time.